Hey class, this is Mr. Grant. I wanted to give you a basic understanding of the stages of clay. Clay is broken down into 5 stages based on how much water is in the clay. The first is called slip. It's the wettest form of clay. The only thing you need to know about that is that's where you put your dried out pieces of clay at the end of class if they've broken or they're unusable. The stage we'll be using in class is called plastic. That stage of clay is when you can manipulate and bend and attach pieces together. After class today, your clay will be too dry to be used, so it has to be done today. Your clay will turn in what is called the leather hard stage. It's a great stage for detailing, but we don't have enough time to be doing that stage. After leather hard, it becomes bone dry. This is the most delicate and brittle stage of clay. I'll be putting your clay into a kiln. Your clay cannot be taken home today because it is not yet ready to be used. It's just dried out dirt basically at this point. Once I put your clay into the kiln, which is at the elementary school, I fire it and I cook, which means I cook it at 1,828 degrees. That takes over 24 hours to do. After it cools off, we can take it back out. It becomes something called bisque or bisqueware. That is the point where we can paint or glaze our artwork. We are going to be painting our artwork. We are not going to be glazing our artwork. Glazing it means that it's dinnerware safe to use and drink and eat out of. That requires another 24-hour kiln firing and using liquid glass to coat our object or our clay product. So for sake of time, so you can get these artworks home in the next week, we are just going to be painting them. Okay, and I have a few tips for you on how to finish your clay project quickly and have some nice, neat product at the end. Right now I'm taking you back to show you where the kiln is. Just thought you guys were curious. It's at the elementary school, and I have some second grader artworks being fired right now. And it looks like they are at 1,782 degrees, starting to warm up to a red glow. Okay. Thank you. Hi, Miss Snyder's class and Miss Gamble's class. You guys will not have a chance to do clay and art, so I'm making a little video for you so that we can get done before Christmas break. I created a kit for your class, and it has your clay broken off into small pieces about this size. You'll have enough clay to make several objects if you have enough time. So my suggestion to everybody is the same thing, no matter what you're making. Okay? So the first thing you guys are going to do is you won't have a tray like this. You'll need a paper towel, and you will need a pencil. Those are the only 2 things you're going to need. Okay? And the first thing we're going to do with our clay is what? Do you remember, Noah?
Roll it into a ball.
Roll it into a ball. So if you can't roll your clay into a ball, then what you need to do is break your clay apart into two or three parts. So you can make 2 or 3 different things and roll it into a ball. From there, the easiest thing for you all to make is a medallion or an ornament. Okay? So if you roll your clay into a nice ball, then what you're going to do is flatten it on your paper towel like this. Why don't you want to flatten it on the table?
Because it will stick to the table.
It will stick to the table. When you flatten your clay on the paper towel, it should be about cookie thickness. Don't make it super skinny near the edges, or it will crack and break when we put it in the kiln.
And don't make it too big and clumpy because it will explode in the kiln.
Yeah, if it's a big giant ball of clay, it will most likely blow up in the kiln because the water can't escape. Okay, so once you make your flat cookie-like artwork on the back, it's probably going to, I don't know if you can see if that's zoomed in, but you can see that it's very rough around the edges. What you need to do is smooth out that clay so that it's smoother before it gets fired in the kiln and becomes very hard and very rough. Can you zoom in real quick? Your pencil is your best tool for engraving details. You need to put your initials on your clay. So when you put your initials on your clay, remember that there's a lot of people that have your same initials. So make sure that you do your middle initial. because, Kai, what are your initials?
Kai Smither.
So KS, there's probably another student that has KS, right, in first grade. So let's make sure that you have all 3 of your initials carved in there as nice and neatly as you can. That way you guys get your artworks back. Okay, that's the biggest problem with clay, is people a lot of times don't have their names on things, or their name is not readable. Another option for you guys is to roll a sphere, and here, let me get a little more clay here. Poke a hole with your thumb in the middle of it. Take a look. This is another option. You guys are allowed to make whatever you want with your clay. I'm just giving you 2 options that are really easy to do. So you poke your thumb in the middle of the ball. Remember, we started with the ball again. And we pinch around with the flat part of our hand. And this is called a pinch pot. Okay? Your walls should feel the same thickness. The bottom, the walls should all be the same amount of thickness. About the same as this, about as thick as a cookie or as wide as your pinky fingernail. Once you're done with that, you can use it as a pot or a cup. Of course, we can't drink out of it because we're only going to paint these with paint at the end, okay? You can also flip it on its side and turn it into a creature. If you can see, if I use my pencil as my tool to poke, I can turn it on its side and make a creature. I can turn it upside down and make a creature on top. Whenever you attach clay, this is the last thing, okay? Whenever you attach pieces of clay, let's say you want to make something like a snowman or a cat or an animal. If you try to attach 2 pieces of clay, they'll stick together right now, but once they go from this stage, which is the plastic clay stage, to bone dry, they won't be stuck. They'll fall apart. So the last lesson for you is this. Can you scoot in and zoom in on this? We have to do something called score and slip. And we are not going to use slip from the slip bucket today, the wettest form of clay. We're just going to carve it and score it. And when you carve and score your 2 pieces, what it does is it makes it so your clay interlocks like Velcro. Okay? When you stick it together, then you can use the side of your pencil and smooth that out. Your clay will actually stick together, and you might actually have a nice project at the end of your art, at the end of the day, you know, after we fire it. I also don't add legs. I carve them off by carving a cross or an X on the bottom of my creature like this. After I carve the X, I just pull the legs out. That guarantees that my legs won't break off. And again, don't forget to write your name on it. So, okay, the last step, the last thing is after your clay is done, can you guys put your artworks in your teacher's box? It was the orange box I gave you. And normally I would tell you to take your extra pieces of clay, and I would normally tell you to take the dried out clay and put it where, Noah? In the slip bucket. But for you guys, since you don't have a slip bucket in your classroom, just put your clay back in that plastic bag. Boys and girls, if you ran out of time and did not make anything out of clay, it's alright. I'll make a few extra pieces. Just put your dried out clay that's not usable. If it's too dried out, just put it back in this bag, put it back in your teacher's box, and give it back to me, and I'll take care of it, okay? That should be it. Thank you, guys.